Want to learn how to profitably price your party favorite products using our Pretty Crafty calculator? Then keep on watching. Hey y'all, Victoria Cherie here with Pretty Party and Crafty, and we're going to jump right into how you can use our Pretty Crafty calculator. So first thing, when you get it from our shop, it comes in a zipped folder. If you have a MacBook, all you have to do is double click to unzip it. If you have a Windows PC, what you're going to do is right click, select Extract All, and make sure this is checked and hit extract. All right, then it'll open up. We'll open that folder. And this can be used in Google Sheets, or you can use it in Microsoft Excel. If you use it in Microsoft Excel, just go to File, Open, and select Pretty Crafty Calculator. Okay, if you're doing it in Google Sheets, which I'll be using in this tutorial, we want to import it. So I'm just going to minimize this. And to get to Google Sheets, make sure you're signed into your Google account and go to sheets.google.com and then click on blank spreadsheet. Then we're going to select File, Import, Upload, and you can either click Browse or you can go ahead and already have your window open and then just click and drag it over. So we're dragging in the Excel file. Okay, import location. Make sure replace spreadsheet is selected. If you don't see it, just hit that down arrow and replace spreadsheet. Hit import data, and it imported our calculator. So before we see it in action, let's go ahead and rename it so we can always find it. Let's talk about everything that we see here. Let's look at the bottom first. These are where we have our tabs. It's how you'll navigate to different areas of the calculator. Right now we are in tab 1, the read me section. So we'll read this. And then we have 3 additional tabs that we'll talk about. So how to use this. If you want to see it in action, check out the YouTube tutorial. You're already here, so great. Next, important, if you try to add information in cells where you should not, you'll be shown a heads up warning. Okay, this is what the heads up warning is going to look like. Do not click OK. You want to always click cancel. Also, don't delete any columns or rows because deleting it will affect the formulas that are embedded and you'll start to get errors, which means you won't be able to use it correctly anymore. But if you need to import it again, remember you always have the original. Next, currency. The default currency is US dollar, but if you need to change it, if you're in a different country, just hit that down arrow and we have various different options. Now, if you're not sure if we have yours, just make sure you check the listing description. We have it listed all there on the website. All right, now let's talk about the different tabs. Right now we're in tab 1, read me. Tab 2 is list of materials. There you'll list all the materials you use to create the products that you sell. Tab 3 is the main calculator that we'll be using today. This is what you'll use to price single products or your listings. And finally, tab 4, that's the calculator for multiple products. So you can list all your listings there on one sheet if you don't want your calculator to get too cluttered with multiple tabs, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. Now let's see this calculator in action. You're going to click the second tab where it says list of materials. As you can see, when you open the second tab, we already have many of our products listed. If you shop with Pretty Party and Crafty, our paper, cardstock, vinyl, that's all included. We also like to use materials from the craft print shop, so we did include their metallic and glitter cardstock as well as their adhesive foam squares. Now, if you have problems with calculating ink costs, don't worry, we included that for you based off the size of the paper you're printing on. Now, this is based off of using the ET 8500 or 8550. So if you're using a less expensive machine or a third-party ink, your cost might actually be lower, but again, feel free to add in your ink cost, but this is perfect for the 8500 and 8550. So the right side gives us instructions and an example. First, all the light beige or tan colored cells, that's what you're responsible for filling out. You have your list of materials. You have the ID number and supplier. Those two are optional. You have to list the cost of the product, what the unit is. So is it sheets, inches, squares, the number of units, how many did you receive? So 100 sheets. And then the price per unit is calculated for you. So for example, imagine you sell cake toppers, you need glossy cardstock. You pay the supplier $15.99 for 50 sheets. The calculator automatically calculates the per piece price as being 32 cents per glossy cardstock sheet. Let's go ahead and add an additional item. So I don't have double-sided tape here. So we'll just click on an empty square under material name. I'm going to put double-sided tape. Okay, I'm going to tab over. I'm going to put my supplier as Michael's because I want to remember where I got it from. Okay, what is my cost? It is $7.15. Okay, what's the unit? If you look on your package, mine says yards. So how many yards do I get per package? I look at it. It tells me 72. Then I'm just going to click off to the side and it calculates the price per unit. So it is 10 cents per yard. At this time, I would just list all of my materials that I use, and you want to do that before you go to the calculator. But since I have everything that I'm going to use, I'm going to go ahead and click on the third tab for calculator. And this is the Pretty Crafty calculator. Now it may look intimidating, but it's not. Let's go over everything. Let's look on the right side for instructions. Again, all the light beige tan colored cells you're going to fill in. Now this is for a single product. If you want to duplicate this tab so you can do a second and third and fourth product, all you do is go to the tab, hit the down arrow, and then you can duplicate. But if you don't want to have so many tabs, just put in your information here first and then transfer that information to the fourth tab. And then that way you can just have a running list of all of your products that you have calculated based off of this one. So instead of having like 5 of these tabs, just do it one time, add it to the last tab, and then repeat the process for each item or listing. Now what we're going to do, we're going to look at material costs, labor costs, and additional costs. And based off that information, we're going to get the product pricing. So let's start adding details. So for this listing, product name, what is the name of your product? So this is going to be for a Pick 3 party pack unfilled. Okay, SKU, if you have a SKU number, add it there. Discount percent, if you plan on giving a discount, you can include that here, but I like to leave that at 0. Sales tax, if you live in the US, then you'll leave that at 0 because we know that they add the sales tax at the back end. If you live anywhere else where the sales tax should be included in the price, then you want to add that percentage here. Material cost, so for my chip bags, I'm going to hit that down arrow. I know I'm going to need letter size paper for my chip bags. How many is for a dozen? So 12. Capri Sun labels, I'm going to print on die cut labels. So I'm going to select vinyl 3x5 die cut labels. How many sheets? Well, because there's 4 labels on each sheet, I only need 3 sheets. And then finally for the fruit snacks, I'm not going to print on the letter size. I want to do it on 5x7 because I want to save time and print borderless. It's a dozen, so I need 12 sheets. Double-sided tape. I use about 9 yards for an order like this. How many prints will I have of letter size? This paper is letter size and the vinyl is letter size as well. So 12 plus 3, I'm going to have 15 prints of letter size. So I'm going to go to ink letter size and that's going to be 15 prints. Okay, I'm also printing on my 5x7 for the fruit snacks. So I'm going to go down to that drop down menu again. Ink printing on 5x7 and it's going to be 12. All right, so our total cost for material is $10.52. Now, some people will tell you multiply that by 3 and that's what you should charge. No, because we still have to include our labor costs and any additional costs that we have. So labor costs, I went ahead and listed some operations that you might do, but if you do more, feel free to add more. The rate per hour, that's completely subjective and up to you. You might think that your time is worth $25 an hour. Someone else might feel that their time is worth $125 per hour. It's up to you. Minutes is how long you spend doing that. So for example, if you're doing a custom design, it might take you 40 minutes to do. But if you're doing a pre-made design where all you're doing is adding their name, it might only take you 3 or 5 minutes to do. For this example, I'm just going to set my rate per hour to $75. All right, so for minutes, we're saying how long it takes us to do it. So I'm just imagining this is a pre-designed listing and I just have to plug in their names. So the design process isn't going to take as long as if I were doing something completely custom. So just put how long it takes you to do the designing, assembling, packaging, and customer service. Now, if we look to the right, additional costs. shipping. How much is shipping going to cost? Okay, so my shipping is about $12 when I include the cost of the box, the tape, and things like that. Next is fees. This is based off of your selling platform, whether or not you're using PayPal, Etsy, Shopify. It's based off what you're using. They let you know their fees. Now with Etsy, they do say 6%, but make sure you're including transaction fees, because it can take that 6% all the way to 10 to 15%, and even higher if they're charging you for off-site ads. So for the sake of this example, I'm just going to put $6, but Shopify, it will be much lower. Also, if you have additional costs, maybe you need to include the overhead for electricity or the cost of your subscriptions, you can consider that as well. So now we have all of our costs. We have our material costs, our labor costs, and additional costs. Okay, again, we're going to look at the top. All the light beige or tan, that's what we're filling in. Okay, we're going to start with product price by profit margin. Now, if we look at this chart, it says total product cost is $69.77. That is the bare minimum that you should be charging. And the price by profit margin, most people have a target profit margin between 20% and 50%, but depending on your skill set or depending on your competition, you can bump that up even higher. It just depends what you're selling, if it's something unique and you don't have a lot of competition. So if your profit margin is 20%, you want to sell your product for $87.22. Let's say that you're a newbie, you're just getting started, you don't have a lot of reviews, $87.22. But if you've been doing this for a while, maybe you want to bump that up to 35%. All right, you charge $107.34, $107.34. Now let's look at product price by profit amount. Now let's say you don't want to worry about profit margin. You just know that you want to make $50 from this order. You'll type in 50, so you should be charging $119.77. And finally, if we look at product price by sale price, let's say you haven't been having a lot of sales and you've been charging maybe $119 and you just want to put it on sale. Maybe have a flash sale for about $85. So you'll just click here. I'm going to have a flash sale for $85. What's going to be the profit? So all we have to do is look down here. Your profit is going to be $15.23. Remember, profit is anything you earn above the total product cost. So your labor and your materials and your additional costs, that's already included. The profit is anything above that. So usually what people do with the profit, that's what they use to expand. So if you need a second printer, if you need a cutter, if you need to take a class, if you need to buy a pretty crafty calculator, you're using the profit from your orders to expand. But let's say you want to charge $70 for a target sale price. Okay, your profit is only going to be 23 cents. Okay, let's say I saw somebody selling this for $50. Okay, your profit is negative $19.77. Okay, because remember, you don't want to go below that $69.77. So I'm going to set that target sale price to 100. And what am I making? The profit from that is $30.23. So again, this can change based off of what you're designing. Now, let's say that you're designing something that is custom. So the design process, instead of it being 5 minutes, is now 40 minutes because it takes you a while to design something from scratch. So I'm going to change that to 40 and let's see what happens. All right. So you see how this went up. Now we're at 174.65. Now I do know a lot of people, they don't consider that design time, but I would. Okay. Maybe you decide, okay, well, maybe I'll just take 20% this time. Okay, 141.90. All right, so take your time, play around with it. You'll also see that, again, you can get a negative profit if you set your sales price too low. So again, just play around with it. But when I say that your pricing is subjective, this is a great guide, but I want to take a look at the cost summary for a second. All right, so if you look at this cost summary, material accounts for 9.3% of the cost. Additional cost is right at 16. Almost 75% is your labor cost. So when I say it's subjective, that's what I mean. And again, once you are done with this, you can take this information and transfer it to the last tab so you can have a running list. And so you don't have to duplicate this page. And that's how you use the Pretty Crafty calculator. Be sure to like and follow for more. Later, y'all.